Hey guys, Darren Kelly, your coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome to my round at 20 team review. Hopefully, you had a good fantasy weekend, unlike my team. Scored pretty badly this week, unfortunately. There were some massive scores out there, and my team was just a little bit lacking some of those big players. So, overall, scored a 23.65, so that is my season high so far, but definitely way off the pace. I think about par was about 2450. We even saw a few teams hit 2600, so definitely way off the pace. And as a result, scored had the round rank of 16 or nearly 17k there, and did drop back at back 300 spots in the overall ranking. So not good at all. I thought it was on for a decent weekend. On Saturday night, had moved up a fair few thousand spots with just a lot of players playing early. But then, yeah, Sunday, came crashing down with only, I think I had 4 players left in to finish off. And yeah, I had some big scores to finish off, and I unfortunately did not. But I guess we'll go through lumber line, see what went well, what didn't went well, and why I've scored this way. So overall, mainly the letdown is my midfield. It was shocking on the weekend. Only the 3 tons, and they're all relatively small. Um, a lot of underperforming players, and a lot of players that were on track for really good scores, like Merritt. I think he was on 70 at half time. Walsh, I think he was very similar. Both just crashed to be sub 100, which is ridiculous. Um, the two Port boys, they weren't on for anything amazing, but they were just tracking nicely and then had quiet quarters as they do. Bontempelli, he's Bontempelli. He's been shocking. He's been a terrible pick all year, pretty much. And yeah, really hurt me there. Daxter's been probably the shining light of the last 2 weeks. I'll be picking him up after that 33, so happy with him there. And Caleb Sarong just hit his 100 in what should have been a much bigger game. He tore that game apart. 32 disposals, 2 marks, 2 tackles. It's just disappointing. Would have thought he would be on. If you just went purely on eye test and you weren't looking at fantasy scores, he would have looked like he would have been on 120, if not 130. He just did not get many tackles and marks, which is really frustrating. We need these players to be hitting these lines. So, but what can you do? I don't have the likes of Goulden, Trelaw, Dunkley, Neil, Brayshaw as well. All went pretty big this week, and unfortunately, I just don't have any of them just because they're so expensive, and that's just the way my fantasy season has gone at this point in time. Having to pick up these cheaper players, just trying to catch up a little bit, but it's not working, unfortunately. Yeah, just looking through some of these scores, like what Dunkley scored the 128. Gordon hit a 114. He's just super consistent. Trelaw 125. Even Neil, even though he's not super popular, he hit 129. I'll probably talk about Sheasel on my defense line, but my defense line also hurt a fair bit. Not having Dacos and Sheasel being the main 2 popular guys, they both went pretty big. With Sheasel with a 118 and Dacos went a 128, I believe. Yeah, unfortunately, I did trade him out only 2 weeks prior with a few coming his way, but didn't sort of eventuate in the last 2 weeks. I do think it will come good by the end of the season with the next 4 weeks, but yeah, definitely could have held off until now if I had hindsight. But lucky Whitfield went well. Some more on the positive side. I got my captain pick really good on this one. Obviously, high scoring player Cherry hit the 156. I think he was 17 points above the next best person, who I think was Zorko, who, funnily enough, was going to be my C option if Cherry did fail. So definitely would have gone well either way there. But yeah, happy to hit a 150 and lock that in. But even that couldn't save my round, unfortunately. So happy with my captain choices there. +3 and -3s. Cherry has to be my +3. It's pretty straightforward there. When you trade a player in for the first week and they hit their season high, and you even boost that a little bit more by putting the VC on there, you have to give that to him. Feels good to own him after not owning him the entire season. He was nice to actually watch an North game and not have to cringe too much because I actually enjoyed watching him. So I love his thirst for the ball. Just yeah, unfortunately I didn't start with him, but glad to have him now, and hopefully he can finish off strong from my side. -3 can go so many ways because there's a fair few 70s in my side, which is very disappointing. Has to be between Caldwell and Rosie, I think. Who probably deserves it more? Probably Rosie. I think he had a very poor final quarter. He was on 70 at 3/4 time, on track for 100. Don't know, just a 30, quite a 30-point quarter would have been fine from him, but he put up a 5-point quarter, only having a handball and a kick, and that's not what I wanted. But in saying that, he did call a bit of attention in this game. We'll talk about a little bit more on the the round review video, but Chin Cotter went to sort of both Butters and Rosie at the same sort of time. He sort of spent a lot of time on Butters most of the game, but then while Butters was off or, resting forward, whatever it was, he went to Rosie around the stoppages. So, yeah, kept them both busy and sort of put them both off the game, but somehow it didn't really affect the result at the end of the day because Port still won that game. So, be interesting to see how they continue with that role because it really didn't work for them in this weekend, but it has worked in the past. So, it's just one of those things. Unfortunately, just going to cop on the chin. That's just fantasy footy for you. What else did I want to talk about here? Obviously, Whitfield and Stewart just carrying the defence line at the moment. They're both absolutely flying. Whitfield, particularly, 8 weeks on the trot now with tons and the big tons as well. He's sixth 120 plus in 8 weeks, so he is just killing it. Yeah, can't go wrong there. Stewart, the exact same. Even in a tougher matchup, he went 120 plus, and definitely probably needs to be considered as a captain option from here on out. I think, particularly looking at these last two, could definitely be very juicy. Even the next couple, probably not the best matchups, but he could definitely get it done in those games. Nick Martin, pretty underwhelming. Thought it was going to be a ceiling game. I even mentioned it in the captain option because he went 140 or 150 last time they played. Yeah, 145 last time they played, but he just did not get it done in this game. Very little sort of possessions. I think it was just mainly due to the fact that Essendon got smacked. They couldn't get their hands on the ball, which, as someone who tipped the St Kilda, I was very happy. But in terms of fantasy, I wasn't too pleased with some of my players just not performing as well as they should, particularly Martin, Merritt, and Caldwell there. So. But you top it on chin. I guess there is some discussion you can have with trading him because his last sort of 6 weeks have been pretty underwhelming. If you take that 143 out, they've all been below tons. They've all been, relatively around 80 to 90. Nothing amazing. So I definitely can see a world where you can trade him out. It's just my question is who you're trading him to. I think we've lost a lot of stocks in the back line at the moment with, particularly with Dacos probably going to get tagged for the next couple of weeks. You probably wouldn't want to trade him in. I think you could probably go to Newman. Maybe is the one you'd probably look at. She's obviously is always a great one to have, no matter what role he's playing in. So he's one you should have. Sinclair is very up and down. I'm not super confident on him, but he's probably one of the better ones to own if you can. If you want to be a little bit different, he is lowly owned. I think at like 12%. Yeah, 13% now. Wangani Malera, if you really want to go left of field, but I think he lacks a lot of that ceiling. He's not really hitting those lines massively. Like, I think what's his best score, 127 for this season. So he's not going to give you that massive ceiling, but he is pretty consistent in that field. So I don't think he really get much of a benefit there for Martin. So yeah, it's one of those things. Like, do you bother trading him out just because you're not going to really gain that much of a benefit, or do you just hold on to these guys and just upgrade elsewhere to get the maximum points? Which is probably where I'd be leaning to. Try and get the maximum amount of points out of your players if you can. You're really not going to get that many points difference here, I would have thought. But just looking there, that he does have a couple of harder matchups to finish off the year, so maybe you can duly jump off then. We know Suns are a really good matchup for defenders, so he can go off there. And Fremantle's aren't too bad either, so probably just hold for me, unfortunately. Clark. Yeah, Clark. He's very, very underwhelming, similar to Luke Ryan, but probably just on the better end, luckily. He did save the score, though, which was good to see. I think he had like a 41 point last quarter, so he definitely saved that to put up a 90. Definitely one I'd probably look at trading at if you can. Not too bad of a run for the next two, but the last two, again, are pretty tough, so probably have to look at trading a few defenders at some point. Trent Rivers started like a house on fire, honestly. He scored 52 points in the first quarter, and then I think he got the clamps from a Bedford pretty quickly after that, and only put up like 30 points in the final 3 quarters. So that was very disappointing and very frustrating for an owner like me who, he is fairly unique and sort of backed him in. I was looking at trading him, but just couldn't, just given way things have ventured, because I wanted to look at Logan Evans. If he went well, then I was going to trade him. But yeah, ended up not being able to do that and having to do a few different other things with my trades, which I'll probably just show now. Trade the first trade stood the same, so Nankov's had to go because he was injured and went to Cherry, so that worked out really well. But then I sort of still have this F6 problem at the moment, where I wanted to have a look at Mana against North. Thought he could go pretty well, and I could loop between these two for the remainder of the season if that's an option I wanted to look at. So I ended up trading out Tholstrup to him, and banks me about 100k for this week, which isn't too bad. So I can have plenty of cash to do what I want. It's just sort of now weighing up: do I want to loop between these two, or do I trade in, the likes of Dylan Moore, or do some luxury trades around the field, trying to improve my, shitty players that aren't performing, and try and get onto these better players. Continue down the line here. Sorry, Hayden Young, 91, and I think he scored a 0 point last quarter, which is ridiculous to say. He was actually on fire for the majority of the game. 12 tackles, which is just ridiculous. He is a tackling machine sometimes. But then, yeah, he's just super inconsistent. Like, sometimes he has 0 tackles. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Only had the one last week, but he put up 12 this week and still only managed to put up 2 points better, which is just ridiculous. It shows that he can score in multiple different ways. It's just, yeah, sometimes he's not hitting all lines consistently to be that top line player that we sort of were hoping for at the start of the season. But yeah, a little bit disappointing in terms of it was a really good matchup and should have definitely hit 3 figures. Tougher run to come. So again, you could probably look to jump off if you haven't already. We spoke about midfield a fair bit already, but yeah, really underperforming guys. Hopefully they can bounce back and do what I need to. It's tough. I really want these main midfield group, like your Goldens, your Trelaws, your Dunkleys, and even a Brayshaw sort of popped his head into that equation, but just can't seem to get there at this point in time. Was looking at an Anderson this week, given that he has a really good run to finish, but given his form is maybe something I probably won't consider. I don't know. It's a tough one because these last 3 are really tough matchups. Even last 4 actually. Northman pretty tough. So to say he's probably gone about that 95 to 100 range in some really tough matchups could work out to be that once he gets some freed up space. Probably not going to cop many tags for the remainder of the season. You'd think he'd be okay, so he could go as a bit of a smoky. What is he? 4.5% owned, lowly owned, low price. Sorry. So I still definitely weighing it up if it's something I want to do, but sort of leaning away from it at this point in time. English, moving into the ruck line, English was pretty disappointing. It was a tough matchup, I will say that. I didn't sort of expect too much from him this game. Against Grundy, we know how tough he's been, so he definitely lost the hit-out battle there, only 21 hit-outs. And only got the 14 disposals around the field. Took 7 marks, which was a positive. But yeah, definitely didn't tackle as much as you'd want him to against a ruckman that can definitely tackle him. So yeah, 91 at the end of the day isn't too bad, but when you have the likes of a Marshall who went 135, that's 40 points on your head right there. So really just a lot of combining factors. I probably lost 100 points in the midfield alone, plus probably another 40 in the ruck line, plus probably another 40 in the defence line. So I can definitely find where the points went. It's just there's nothing I can do about it because I just don't have the high echelon players that everyone else has. And the forward line to finish it off. Really happy with most of the guys. Caldwell was only a really disappointing one at the end of the day. With Parrish sort of back in the side, it sort of changed the role a little bit. His CBAs were down a little bit. I think he only had 10 or throughout the game. So whatever that probably equaled, probably maybe only 40% or so. So definitely not the number 1 CBA taker. And maybe throws in a few questions of does he need to be a trade if this is what he's going to put up for the remainder of the year. I'm potentially just going to look for another week or so just because I still think he can put up, these decent, 70 to 90s, just and be consistent at an F in the forward line for us. I think he's doing well enough in even if it's a reduced role, he should be able to put up some decent enough scores for us to be an F6. Even though he's priced at what F3 at the moment, so I'm holding there. But if you're in that luxury position that his you're concerned about his role and there's every right to be concerned, then maybe you can jump off and jump on one of these other forward options that are presenting decent value and could provide you some points of difference there. Simkin, probably the only one I want to touch on here because I don't think we really need to talk about Heaney, Flanders, and Zorko. Simkin went really well with 92. Glad to see him bounce back in obviously a good matchup. And yeah, he's going to be a decent one to hold for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks, I would say. If not, just hold him through the end of the season and just ride it out. I think he's, even though he's put up a couple of 60s, I don't think that's too bad in the end of the day. I don't know. Maybe my standards are a bit low there, but in terms of other forward options that went well, Dylan Moore scored a 89, so not too far off that. Mason Wood, who was pretty popular last week, 79, so not great either. Obviously, these boys didn't play. Keys had an absolute stinker with a 61. Yeah, I was at this game at the Hawthorn and Adelaide game, and he just was nowhere to be seen. Played a lot forward again, didn't really do much. Myers put up a nice 89. That's probably one that would have been nice to have. Shows that he's going to be super up and down and pretty consistently. So I still like him as an option, just given the players that he's versing. Didn't kick any goals, which is pretty disappointing, but yeah, was able to get around the ball and put up plenty of marks and tackles. Don't know why I'm looking at what's his name? Brent Daniels, but he put up a nice ceiling score there for anyone that may have been an owner. Jackson, I think, was pretty disappointing with a 67. And a few of the Hawthorn boys put up some decent scores. Ginnivan, not so much, 59, but yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. I guess the only other thing I want to talk about in this video is what I'm looking at doing for my trades this week. Haven't really locked anything in yet. There's definitely a few different possibilities I want to run with. It's either going to be getting Dylan Moore in my side, so maybe trading out Dowling and, even an Evans, because he's not really providing much for me on the bench at the moment. I just want to cash him out, and that could then go to, Moore, not as a defender, as a forward, and then just go to a rookie, and that banks me, 100 and so amount of cash. Who is the best rookie to pick up this week? Definitely not picking up Roberts. That's not the one. Oh god, what are all these options? Why are they so expensive? Who was I looking at? Bond. I think I was picking up Bond just as trying to get that lowly priced player. Doesn't have the lowest break even, but he still played a decent role, scored decently, and at the end of that, it's bench cover. I could even go down to a 200k player if there is a debutant, but because I don't have another playing defender, just having that cover just provides anything happens, at least get some sort of score there. So I do highly recommend if you don't have a playing player in that line on your bench, you definitely still want someone playing there, even if you're not looking at having them actual on field. So that's definitely one option I could do that just sort of solidifies that last little point. But I don't really like the matchups Hawthorn have for the next 2 weeks, particularly two pretty tough matchups before finishing off pretty well. So there's every chance that I do just stick with the likes of Billy Dowling and Manor, which is pretty annoying this week because I can't loop between them. They both play the same game against each other on this Saturday evening. So I'd have to back one in instantly, which I think looking at, DPS, I think I'd probably back in Dowling against Geelong. I think they provide some pretty good scores for wingers, which is what Dowling predominantly plays, whereas Manor plays sort of as a small forward against Adelaide. Where is it? Adelaide's just a neutral matchup, but we did see Connor McDonald for Hawthorn go pretty well in this game, so it's tough one to say, tough call. Both are going quite well, and I'm sure I'll probably get it wrong either way. So yeah, definitely something I could look at. Otherwise, if I don't look at trading those guys out, then I could just look at doing a few luxury trades, like maybe trading out a Rivers out, who's not performing the way I sort of would like, and even trading out a few players that maybe have a few tags, maybe like a Butters probably has a couple tags coming his way, which we mentioned a few weeks ago. Pretty happy with Walsh, even though he's been pretty underwhelming. I think he will start to free up now with a better run, so I'm not looking at trading him out. Strong still continues on his good run for the next 2 weeks, so not looking there. Rosie, while he had a poor game, I think I back him in, even though against Port. I think he'll be fine. Not trading out Steele, not trading out Tom Green, or it's definitely a possibility. He's got a pretty tough run to finish off the season, so but I think I'll just he's been playing really consistently and his form's been really good the last 6 weeks now. He's gone hasn't dropped below 100, so I think I'd just play him in and see how he goes. If he drops a lower one, then I can start to look to move him on. Bontempelli, it's a tough one because he's got some good matches coming up, so I probably won't move him on as much as he's been very underwhelming. It may be just sort of shuffling around a few of my defenders and possibly even the Ruckman trading out English because he has a tough run home against Max. Against O'Brien's the okay one, but then Cherry and then Briggs is okay. But yeah, definitely a couple of tough matchups, and Marshall's really hurting me. Who, yeah, he's also got a tough matchup, but he just doesn't care at this point in time. So there's definitely a chance I could go like an English and a Trent Rivers to, if I can get this up. I don't want that. I want the best player available. Why aren't you showing me? There you go. Which only leaves me 800k, which it probably isn't enough for a decent defender because I'd want to go to Sheasel, I think. Yeah, so I'd have to be a bit creative maybe with some trades there. So I don't know, still a little bit up there in the air with what I want to do. I'll do a bit more research throughout the week and see what way I want to go. But yeah, I think that will sort of do it today's video. Hopefully you're enjoying the the way I'm doing the content. Breaks it up a little bit, not shoving my team down your throat as such. So it's only the players that only the coaches that really want to know about my team can visit the channel and just review the YouTube video. But hopefully you had a good week. Hopefully your team went a lot better than mine, and you're up there pushing for if not a car. Yeah, I definitely don't envy any of these players at the moment with being up there with only 4 weeks to go. It is a very stressful time knowing that if you're not leading, then you're chasing, and it's a very stressful time. So been there, done that, and don't regret it. So anyways, I'll leave you guys to it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.